One of the things about the Great Depression and every recession is there is an increase in savings of capital. So we've got more people with more capital hitting a greater age, greater capital, greater need, and interest rates that do not support sustainable long-term income. Live an interested life, not interesting. I want to provoke and inspire interest in whatever it is that gets their attention.
Another conversation that we've been having is, again, looking at the generations and the fact that coming out of the 40s and 50s that people would retire from their careers after long tenured careers with defined benefit pension plans that would take care of them. The employer invested for them and would provide solid benefits to take care of them, taking the pressure off of the worker to have to figure this out for themselves. No, just go to work, put in the time, and we'll grant you this. Now, that moved in the late 70s to what we have today, the defined contribution plans, which we typically know as the 401ks, the IRAs, and whatnot. And you made a comment the other day, which I thought was very, very relevant, and that is that we're entering a period where more Americans than ever before are going to need money, revenue. I think we're speaking in large part, not exclusively, but to my generation, the baby boomers, I'm right smack in the middle, and thinking about, is there a generation from the past that we can look at that has actually successfully retired as a class, as a generation, based on their own investments in the stock market, in the financial products. To talk a little bit about that and how you foresee that as being one of the major obstacles that our country, our economy is going to have to deal with in the near term.
Yeah. So demographically, absolutely. We've got, 10,000 Americans a day turning 65 or older, and that'll be the case through 2038, I believe it is, thereabouts, 2040 perhaps. A monstrous wave of people moving from production to consumption, from taxpayers to tax recipients, essentially, beneficiaries of those taxes being paid. This is creating a long-term demographic slow burn time bomb for the United States. And we just need to look at Japan as an example of that. Of course, Japan culturally is a very, very different perspective about the elders, and where individual responsibility for one's well-being sits with the family, not with the Social Security office. So culturally, even that data is heavily skewed to make it look better than it really is, based on our cultural preferences about how we treat retirees. In our conversation, as I was saying, we got a good couple of generations out of the pension era, that post-World War II period, with a ton of pent-up demand, but most importantly, pent-up savings, pent-up reserves. One of the things about the Great Depression and every recession is there is an increase in savings of capital that can then be, just once accumulated, can then be redistributed. Again, it's part of the cycle. So we moved into this period, the late 70s really, where we made the shift, this incredible sleight of hand, where, David, you used to have a defined benefit, but now we're going to define your contribution. We used to define what I would give you, but now we're defining what you're going to do for yourself. I'm not against it, but it was just fascinating how, because of the amount of money that could be made by money managing firms, just grabbed this and ran with it and sold America on this vision that this is even better than a pension. Fast forward, here we are 20, 30 years later. Show me one American who wouldn't take a pension over a 401k. Any one of us would. Why? Because it doesn't matter what you accumulate if you cannot create income from it. So here we have these record amounts of money. You get people like Harry Dent saying all of this monstrous billions and trillions of dollars. That's great. How are we going to turn on an income stream in an era of 3% corporate bonds? It's just not going to happen. So we've got more people with more capital hitting more age, as to use the Moors, a greater age, greater capital, greater need, and interest rates that do not support sustainable long-term income. We are now trying to jump into that second generation of people that have been sold on this idea and quite literally sold on it. You go back all of the early mutual fund companies that exploded post 60s into the 70s and 80s that now turn into hedge funds. It's all the same thing. I would feel a little more comfortable if I had just two generations of data where I could say, okay, I know Jill and I know Jack, and they're 20 years apart, and they both retired on their 401ks entirely. Not because of, thank goodness for Social Security, not because, oh, well, I inherited. Nope, 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 nope. Purely because of their defined contribution plans. Until I see it robustly, not, oh, this person made out well as an entrepreneur. No, robustly, the average American saver, the average American investor, color me a little cautious.
Yeah. Let's finish with this, Alistair. You're an entrepreneur, you're a father, a husband, you have two young adults that are getting close to entering the world as you did a generation ago, as you began your safari business, and really, truly what you are today, you are a guide. What kind of guidance, wisdom, advice are you providing for your children that would be perhaps advice that others thinking the same way? How do I preserve not only my autonomy but help the generations to come preserve theirs? How are you helping your people with thinking their way through and building the resourcefulness that you obviously had to generate from your years of growing up?
Yeah, what a beautiful question, and what I can't think of a more important work that a parent could do. Really, I love, as always, you're thinking about it. Speaking for myself, this is just my version, but becoming a parent has really been a case study for me in the temptation to disconnect behavior from consequences, the temptation to rubberize a playground. That's what we've done. We've raised a generation of children that grew up with rubberized playgrounds. The temptation we have as parents to step in and say, let me undo the sippy cup for you. Let me, I'll help you. I will wait wait for hours in the car lineup of cars to pick you up and drop you off. And every single one of these things coming to it, as we all do, from a position of love and wanting wanting the best for our children. But I don't know that we always want to do the best for our children. We want the best for them, but are we doing the best to them? I think the disconnection between inputs and outcomes, the inherent mechanism, the importance of that feedback loop of labor and reward, contribution and reward, is one of the richest sources of individual self-esteem, personal wealth, dignity, mutual respect. It all lies in that keeping the clarity of connection between input and outcome. And we break that. We break it with welfare programs. Now, again, there are some that I love to help support with welfare that is perfectly appropriate for them. We do it when we bail out large companies because they're too big, apparently, so big they can't stand on their own legs. That's how you describe a gorged parasite. So connecting my children to that is a daily task. As you know, we've spent some time together and talked about leadership and culture and practices and businesses and so forth. This is the core principle of one of my trainings called Matador Leadership. We break that mechanism with our employees all the time. I'll call that angry patient back and take care of it. Whatever it is, or nobody here is creative enough. We break the creativity, we break the consequence. We do this all the time. So that to me is the most important thing. Once we do that, and if we do it well, we don't just harness the best of these people we love, but we open a road and hold up a mirror and shine a light for the best possible version of them for them. That's the first thing, which is really to say, learn to respect your labors by experiencing the fruits of them. And then the second thing that I've bothered my kids with since they could first even understand my words is the most important thing that my children can do, in my opinion, is live an interested life. Not interesting. Not interesting for other people to gawk at or read about or follow on Twitter. An interested life. I want to provoke and inspire interest in whatever it is that gets their attention. And so far, so good. So far, so great. I'll tell you a personal story. This summer, I came back from Puerto Rico. I was living with my son. We did a little 8-9 month dad and son experiment, which my wife amazingly was responsible in large part for supporting. And he and I got back. He got back into town, immediately started. Couldn't wait. What he wanted for his birthday was in May, and he wanted 2 jobs. He wanted help from me for his birthday finding a job. Ideally, he could get 2. So he came back, he started polling all of his mates, and he discovered that Panda Express is paying the most. As we speak right now, my son is slinging MSG at Panda Express because they're paying $16 an hour. And I could play a message for you right now. I won't, but the voicemail I got from him a couple of weeks ago, he was on a break and he was calling to celebrate how good it felt to be working again.
Yes.
And saying that they're going to train me to do back of the house. I've already done cashiering. This means I'll be due for just so engaged, interested. Now, it's not that he wants to work for Panda Express, is that he wants his own sovereignty, his autonomy. He's told me he can't wait to graduate. And then my daughter, same thing, interested in becoming an epidemiologist. She just finished her first year of college and she fell in love with Arabic. So she's now doing Arabic and microbiology, 4.0 student, straight A's, and studying as we speak, stayed all the way through doing summer school because she's interested. My money's on them. They so far so great. It's kind of catcher in the rye type situation. I just get out of the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do as a parent.
It really is. But Alistair, such great wisdom and insights, and I always love the conversations that we are able to have. And thank you for sharing to a larger audience today some of the things we talk about. I know people that are having the opportunity to listen to what you talked about today will be very much indebted to the wisdom you provide, and hopefully will take some interested action on what you provide today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, David. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Yours is an intellect I love rubbing up against, and this is just more evidence of that.
Have a great day.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.